about trust and faith and understanding how to properly surrender into divine flow. I am taking this lesson specifically from the deconstruction of a few of my own goals, dreams, and potential timelines that I had kind of set in mind for myself. And what I realized when I was fighting so hard to elicit an outcome that I wanted to see was that essentially I was not in the energy of surrender. I was not allowing things to unfold as they were meant to unfold. And one thing that was very marked in terms of the out expression or the experience of this was that every time I tried to challenge a deconstruction event, so a deconstruction event essentially meaning that something in your life is coming to an end and there are elements of it unraveling. And for myself personally, whether this is a relationship, a job, a project, whatever it is, when things start to be forcibly deconstructed by the universe, our immediate reaction is usually to push against that, to have this fighting mentality. I'm going to fight back against this change. I'm going to, I'm not comfortable in the transition. And so therefore I'm going to do everything I can do to block this transition from happening. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but essentially this is something that I have experienced in the last weeks and months in my own life. And, I took up my sword and, really started to fight and advocate and try to remain in the original timeline and my original plan. And every single step that I took towards that was met with another lesson of the universe is not going to allow me or you, whoever is going through this situation, but the universe is not going to allow this to happen. And the more that I fought and the more that the result did not come up in my favor, I started to really do some deep thinking and ask myself, what is the lesson here? I'm a fighter. I never throw down the gauntlet. I never am comfortable just relaxing into a decision. And two things came to mind. First of all, I don't give up. I'm not somebody that gives up easily. But there is a certain point where you get in your own way, where you are essentially being ejected from a former timeline, and everything that you do to try to prevent this pivot or this transition into the next phase of your life, it's not going to work, and it's going to become increasingly frustrating to you because whatever previously worked for you, you're coming up short. So what you have to do in these moments is reevaluate and trust, have faith, and surrender to what I call the divine plan. And I had to do this myself. I had to sit back and say, okay, I'm just gonna buckle up and be along for the ride and be attentive to whatever lessons are coming my way, but to essentially relax into it, to not push so hard against the current. Because that's what I was doing. I was just paddling as hard as I could and continually exhausting my soul with something that just was not manifesting. It was not taking root. And there's a certain point where you have to look at the external factors and what is going on in its totality and really surrender to the fact that potentially in this case you are not going to get your way. And that's not a bad thing. The ego tends to not like to be shut down, or push forward our agenda. And the beauty of life and the mystery of life is that when we can relax into the fact that there is a higher order and a higher destination for us, then we can, of course, do the things that make us feel comfortable in terms of, not giving in or giving up. But once it's blatantly obvious that this pathway is not for us, we have to graciously bow out and take up a new direction. And take up a new direction joyfully, passionately, and peacefully, and accept whatever lessons come from traveling that path and now knowing that we have to move on. And it's difficult. I know with, my business partners, we're going through this, and there's a lot of frustration in it. Why can't it be, or why can't it roll out the way that we assume it should roll out for us? And what, in our discussions, I really kept bringing up the fact that we don't know how the dots are connected. We don't know exactly how things are going to play out 10 steps ahead, 6 months ahead, a year down the road. So even though to our human understanding, we see the path clear cut as destination forward, part of faith, part of trust, and part of following the divine plan in all aspects of our life is that sometimes we're going to have to go on some detours to learn additional lessons in our life. So we're going to go left, and then we're going to go around and loop around and learn that lesson that we learned last year again, but in a greater depth. We are here to learn. We are here to grow. We are here to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly, put together with all of our life experiences. And so if we understand that at its very core, we can relax into the rapids and the twists and turns of our life. I know I sat down and I wrote a prayer yesterday, just reminding myself that it's not my job to connect each and every dot, that there are aspects of my journey that I am not planning, that I am not in charge of. And having the grace and having the ability to not feel frustrated, to not allow my ego to completely take over and to get into an energy of attack is going to be the most gentle way for me to learn the lessons that I am meant to learn. And also with this, understanding that when we stop learning, we become stagnant. So seeing the absolute blessing in the lessons, in the transition, that through these struggles, through these points of acute transformation, this is the blessing of growth. And this is what I've continually asked for my entire life. I want to grow. I want to shed my skin. I want to become better, stronger, more adept at everything I do. But the thing about this is that to become better, to sculpt yourself and mold yourself into this highest level of your own expression, it means that you have to go through the fire. You have to go through the obstacles and lessons to get there. And they are oftentimes not going to be easy. They're going to cause you to have to go within and really try to create and recreate a new version of self, but with a more discerning patterning, essentially, and really holding oneself accountable. I'm going to cut this video off here. I have some really exciting essays that I'm going to be sharing over the holidays that, again, I'm super excited to go in this direction. I feel like it's going to bring a lot of insight for myself because, of course, when you're teaching, you're learning. And hopefully it'll be something that you guys will watch for and tune into. Okay, I will see you in the next video.